Migrants from Cuba and Venezuela.
How many days have you been in San Antonio?
Pushing across the southern border from Mexico. Ukrainian refugees lucky enough to make it to the U.S.
would prevent the number from being astronomical.
Facing a bureaucratic battle instead. And the Marlins swimming upstream.
Long run toward foul territory is there.
After a slow start to the season. These stories and more coming up on Newsbreak.
Hello, South Florida. I'm Nicole Castañeda.
I'm Paloma Pimentel. Today is Thursday, April 12th, 2022.
From the South Florida Media Network's Biscayne-based studios in North Miami, this is SFMN Newsbreak.
Sounding off, Cubans in Miami coming out to protest and sent a message to Biden's administration.
The demonstration is ahead of a meeting between White House officials and representatives from the Cuban government.
The network's Claudia Morales reports from the Southwest Miami-Dade.
The Cuban exile community has gathered outside of Versailles restaurant to ask the Biden administration not to agree to concessions with Cuban officials in the reunion that will be held in Washington.
Conversations about migration between U.S. and Cuban officials have created discontent in the Cuban exile community. After almost 4 years of interrupted conversations, the Biden administration will talk for the first time with the regime about the significant numbers of Cubans that are entering the United States through the southern border. However, this seems to upset the Cuban American community.
We're saying to the Mr. Joe Biden, to the President of the United States, respectfully, is why is the approach towards the regime instead of towards the victims?
The numbers of Cubans that have fled the island seeking freedom have increased considerably after the massive protest on July 11 last year. As of today, more than 1,200 Cubans have tried to come by boat to the U.S., and approximately 80,000 have tried to cross by land, according to U.S. officials.
I think that the problems are very evident. It's the mass oppression being done by the Castro Canal dictatorship.
The conversations are happening a day after the Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, among others, U.S. government officials participated in a migration conference in Panama.
Cuban protesters have said that they won't stop denouncing the regime until their people are finally free. Reporting from Miami, Claudia Morales for the South Florida Media Network.
Paperwork problems affecting a group of Cuban and Venezuelan migrants crossing into the U.S., not across the Florida Straits, but across the Texas border. The network's Zitlali Solache reports on their struggles from the control center.
Park in downtown San Antonio has turned into a waiting area for migrants who are exempt from Title 42, the pandemic order that allows immigration agents to swiftly return migrants to Mexico.
There might have been 20 or 25 men.
Katie Myers from Interfaith Welcome Coalition says that on average between 150 and 200 migrants arrive at this bus station every day, and many arriving with no money, which results in them sleeping in the park. Pastor Gavin Rogers shares he recently opened a shelter at Travis Park Church to assist those in need.
They can shower, they can eat, they can receive the proper food, and they can wait safely until they get through San Antonio.
The city mayor recently sending a letter to the Biden administration about the unsustainable increase of migrants. His administration warning that if Title 42 lifts, the city's ability to meet the humanitarian need could be limited. Meanwhile, U.S. Congressman Henry Cuellar represents this area, and he's opposing his party on Title 42, saying the Biden administration's intent to end the policy.
They said we're going to notify the non-for-profits that more people are coming. That's not a plan. That's just a notification. They said we're going to bring some of the agents from the northern border over here. That's only temporary.
Today, another 300 to 500 migrants continue being dropped off at the airport, and many with cell phones issued and geolocated by the U.S. government. Jesse Amaya has been here 21 days. He says he's waiting for his wife, who is still in Mexico waiting to cross, and shares he's worried for her safety.
su integridad física.
Her physical safety.
Amaya has slept in Rogers' church for over 20 days after leaving his country over fear of political prosecution. He plans to wait for his family and hopes to one day call San Antonio his home. In the control center for the South Florida Media Network, Zetlali Solate.
Refugee status as a Ukrainian immigrant in the United States isn't a fast or easy process. Even after the White House announced that the country will welcome 100,000 Ukrainians with the purpose of reuniting families. The network's Daniela Jaramillo from our DC bureau has the latest from Washington.
More than 4 million Ukrainians have left their country, and some look to enter the U.S. However, U.S. embassies in bordering countries to Ukraine are flooded with applicants, with waiting times up to almost a year just to make an appointment.
There is no quota for asylum applicants in the United States. There are many filters that would prevent the number from being astronomical.
Others are seeking entry through the U.S.-Mexico border with no guarantee that they're going to be let in, as hundreds of families camp outside the border waiting for their turn. Immigration advocates have called out what they say is a double standard, as other Central American and Haitian migrants were turned away under Title 42, a policy put in place under the Trump administration in order to what the administration said was to stop the spread of COVID-19. Nikolai Indistov Garcia, a son of Ukrainians and Mexicans, denounces the different media portrayals of migrants at the border.
The portrayal of the migrants who were leaving Ukraine was different than the portrayal of the migrants who were leaving the Middle East, Syria, or the caravans who were coming from Central America to the border.
Title 42 expires May 23rd. In the meantime, a Department of Homeland Security memo from March 11th instructs Custom and Border Patrol officers to consider exempting Ukrainians from the policy. An agency spokesman said other individuals could be exempted on a case-by-case basis. Daniela Jaramillo, South Florida Media Network.
We have bonus content on the Russia-Ukraine war on our website, sfmn.fiu.edu. Newly published this morning, is a one-on-one with Valeria Popova. She is a Russian expatriate living in South Florida, and she's created a rift with family members still in Russia by sharing the truth about what's going on in Ukraine.
And then they started telling me, we are so glad that this is happening. We so support Putin. Putin is standing up for the truth alone against the whole world. We are so happy. And I'm telling them, guys, hold on for a second. Just politics aside, geopolitics aside, forget about what the media tells you. Just imagine it's you who's sleeping in the middle of the night and some planes come and bomb you.
You can read more about it and see the extended interview online. sfmn.fiu.edu.
Walt Disney World might not be the happiest place on earth at the moment. Florida lawmakers are on the track to strip it of a special status that allows it to operate largely autonomously. CNN's Amy Kiley reports on the actions from the state Republicans.
Hi, everybody. Mickey Mouse himself might be feeling less welcome in Florida right now.
What this is about Disney not recognizing that they are a guest in our state.
The State House is expected to pass a bill today to end Disney's operational autonomy around its Orlando area theme parks. Republican Governor Ron DeSantis says he supports the measure, which is already through the Senate. The mouse has ruled Magic Kingdom under the Reedy Creek Improvement Act for 55 years. But its CEO recently criticized Florida lawmakers for prohibiting schools from discussing sexual orientation and gender identity, especially in younger grades.
We wouldn't have been looking at special districts if Disney had not behaved the way they did. By doing that, we looked at it and we realized there was a problem.
Transgenderism injected into kindergarten classrooms, or woke gender ideology injected into second grade classroom. Why is that the hill to die on?
Some Florida Democrats say they're worried about economic blowback. The state estimated tourism generated about $100 billion in revenue in 2019 and supported more than 1.5 million jobs.
Reedy Creek has a budget of over $350 million. They have debt of almost $1 billion. Orange County, Central Florida residents would have to absorb all of that debt, and it is something that we cannot handle.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
An explanation this morning after a false alarm and evacuation at the U.S. Capitol. Yesterday's scare was caused by a parachute demonstration heading towards a nearby Major League Baseball game. The Army Golden Knights parachute team flew a parachute towards the home stadium of the Washington Nationals. Last night was Military Appreciation Night. The Capitol Police later tweeted that the evacuation was done out of an abundance of caution, determining no actual threat.
A strange string of events puts a parking lot puddle on the map.
That's still ahead, and so is the story.
Runner goes. Molina's throw is high, and it's a stolen base.
And the Marlins looking to get back into the win column during Game 2 of their series against St. Louis. Newsbreak will be back in 2 minutes. Are you okay?
Type 2 diabetes can have a big impact on your life. But how can it be prevented? Well, the first step is knowing if you have something called prediabetes. Take the 1-minute risk test today at doihaveprediabetes.org.
I know kids worry about a lot of things. Getting enough food to eat shouldn't be one of them. Through a nationwide network of food banks, Feeding America serves virtually every community in the United States. See how you can help your community. Visit feedingamerica.org.
If a natural disaster shows up at your doorstep, you can't just turn it away. That's why it's important to prepare for emergencies before they show up. Go to ready.gov/plan to find the tools and tips you need. And make a plan today.
You really have done as much for us as you think we've done for you.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The Marlins are struggling at home after 2 straight losses against the Cardinals. The Marlins playing their second 3 games against St. Louis.
Last night's game stayed tied 0-0 until the 9th inning. The Cardinals broke it open with 2 runs in the top of the 9th. The final score was 2-0 St. Louis. The same 2 teams play again today.
Lake Chipotle is the newest tourist spot in Minneapolis. It started as a parking lot puddle, but now it has taken a life of its own. Just in front of a Chipotle restaurant, you can catch an occasional paddleboarder or visitor. It even has its own website to encourage people to go. Not everyone agrees it's something to be proud of, but it has now been dubbed the tiniest member of the city lakes.
That's all the time we have for Newsbreak. I'm Paloma Pimentel.
And I'm Nicole Castañeda. Get more news at any time at sfmn.fiu.edu.